years after the Supreme Court handed down the landmark gun rights decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, affirming the right to carry a gun outside your home for the purpose of self-defense, the court took up another gun case, this one over whether individuals subject to a domestic violence protective order can be restrained from having a gun. And in an 8-1 decision, the justices said, yeah, they can. They upheld restrictions on firearms for domestic abusers. Even some gun rights advocates were on board with the decision, saying they had no problem with the court drawing the line at dangerous people. Joining us to talk about what the decision means is Terry H., a survivor who works with the House of Ruth Maryland to end domestic violence. Terry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
A lot of people were watching this decision thinking it could have gone the other way, meaning that it would have been against the Second Amendment to restrain these individuals from having firearms. Of course, that's not what happened. But what does this decision and its implications mean for you?
For me, it raises a question in my mind. Does this offer comfort to a survivor, or does it leave it vulnerable? Having only the shield of a piece of paper, and I'm referencing a protective order. The right to bear arms has no solace to a person whose greatest fear is that of the very weapon it enshrines. The gun in itself, given to a perpetrator to defend one's home, is one thing, but it's a chilling threat to someone who has that threat hanging over their head for them. You know, my story is not unique. Countless IPV survivors has this fear and vulnerability. My story began when the world of COVID hit and everything shut down in 2020. And I met a man before COVID who was a real charmer. He sparked a lot of laughter. He could melt ice, glaciers with his smile. But behind it all was hidden a darkness of his secretive past, which includes mental health and drug addiction. But he was a charmer, and he swept me off my feet. The pandemic forced a barrier in controlling, and that became a pressure cooker for my partner with his inner turmoil that he was dealing with. Then, uncoupled with that, he was diagnosed with cancer, and COVID shutting everything down was a serious blow of a hammer to him. And after a while, the personality became Jekyll and Hyde, and soon Mr. Hyde was the controlling factor. And it first showed up with his barbed wire words, his coarse words, name calling. The physical abuse was subtle, but then there was bruising on my arm. He would yank the hair, forcing me to look at him when he spoke. Then there was the night's rages that came in, and duct taping steak knives to his hands. He would tear me out of the bed by my ankles. And one morning I woke up to the tear of a cold gun barrel pressed to the back of my neck. Now, these episodes left me bruised. It left me with broken bones, joints dislocated. But the memory of the duct tape, of a steak knife to your throat, and the feel of that cold barrel on the back of your head, it became a prison. My home became a prison.
We know from the folks at House of Ruth Maryland that 75% of the women in Maryland who were killed in domestic violence situations were killed with a gun. And this decision obviously has implications for that. Just quickly here at the end, we have about 20 seconds, but you talk about what should come next after this decision and what could help people in the future.
Yes, I believe there should be some kind of change. There has to be change. There has to be a call for change, because the gun amendment doesn't exist in a vacuum. And it's part of a social contract, to bring safety to those that are vulnerable individuals. And there should be some kind of registry, like a national registry that holds these protective orders of those personally directed to the IPV and domestic violence.
Which, as you said, could have been useful in your story had you seen that ahead of time when we spoke.
Absolutely.
And that is now the work that you and the House of Maryland do. And Terry, we're so grateful for you sharing your story and for the work that you do with the House of Ruth Maryland. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.